Speaking of civic interest, go ahead, Jeff. I have a feeling you're due for a bad slice.
You character.
How do you expect to sell insurance when you face a client with that kind of competition?
The old wood really bit into that one.
Back to what we were talking about. The boys on the club program committee have come up with a good suggestion. We have in mind a series of reports.
Reports?
On the work of service agencies around South Bend. There's several worthy activities in the community that, well, the too few people know about. So we're giving assignments to several of the boys in the club. You're one of them.
Uh-huh. Sounds interesting. What's my assignment?
Hope Rescue Mission, Jeff. They're doing real depth therapy with alcoholics. I'll check you out on it as soon as you can find time.
I'll take time.
Schmucker, this is Jeff Divins, the gentleman I told you about on the telephone.
I'm glad to meet you, Mr. Divins.
Oh, just call me Jeff.
If you will call me Tobe.
Looks like you fellows are going to get along okay, which means I won't have to be as late as I thought I would on some hospital calls.
See you later, Doc.
Be seated, Jeff.
Thank you.
Start the question.
Well, I hardly know where to begin, frankly. That's the reason why we're having these various presentations over at the club.
As Doc may have told you, so men like me can be familiarized with the work of organizations such as yours. Now, the men who'll be hearing my report will be pretty much in the same boat as I am right now. So why don't you give me a little bit in the way of orientation, and I'm sure I'll have plenty of questions a little later on.
We're a service agency, Jeff, and our reason for existence is to help people in trouble, people who have had more than their usual share of bad breaks in life. Our services extend to a wide variety of human needs. But I understand you men are most interested in our aid to the alcoholics. Well, let me show you around.
I'd like very much to see your place.
I think you will enjoy this tour.
All right.
Mr. Schmucker, Tobe, that is, explained Hope Mission's three-pronged emphasis. A man's physical need, his rehabilitation, and the need for filling the spiritual emptiness in his life. This spiritual emptiness, Tobe explained, is the basic reason for the man's problems. Our first look at facilities was the kitchen. A man who is physically destitute, Tobe explained, considers nothing but his physical need worth talking about. Persons in distress coming in off the street often have not eaten for 2 or 3 days. You must build up the body, and then you can talk about other needs.
When a man lives off of the sugar content of alcohol for such a long period of time, his body must be nurtured back to health. Our aim is to build the body, build the mind, and then build the soul.
The The kitchen staff prepares 100 to 150 meals each day. Most of the food donated by people in the community. It isn't easy for a man to face up to the fact he needs help. Mission workers understand this. They understand, too, that beneath the shipwreck of a man's life, there may well be a deep sense of personal pride, a longing to be as normal as the rest of us. A man can get pretty bitter about charity, taking donated clothing, for instance. Mission staff members emphasize that the clothing comes from people of the community who want to help people. People obeying the Bible's command, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God and thy neighbor as thyself." These men are really bitter at themselves, Tobe explained. And it's part of the rehabilitation program to show them that the reason their attitude is wrong toward others is because they're really angry with themselves. The alcohol fog cannot be washed away by water. Invariably, an alcoholic seems to think so, and will wipe his hand continually across his forehead. But a brisk shower does help to start a man back on the road to recovery. Hope Rescue Mission is a beacon light. The telephone is merely a tool, offering help 24 hours a day to men in need. It is a place where the admonition of the Bible, "Love thy neighbor as thyself," finds vivid opportunities for demonstration. Beds in the dormitory, for example, are donated and maintained by interested individuals. Sponsors come to the mission personally to look after their unique investment. On more than one occasion, Tobe has seen a sponsor stand by one of the beds and quietly pray for divine intervention upon the lives of those men who shall occupy it. As the rehabilitation process advances, men are moved to more personalized quarters. And the second floor, which was formerly a hotel, provides single rooms for specialized needs. Broken lives take their toll not only among adults, but also among children, those caught in the wake of circumstances over which they have no control. A man broken in body, mind, and spirit often needs medical attention. And so a rotating staff of 14 physicians and dentists, together with some 6 to 10 nurses, provides free medical service. All are in warm agreement with the objectives of the mission and give time for spiritual help as well as diagnosis and therapy. What happened to you could have happened to me, is the doctor's typical approach. The men are amazed to find that Doc doesn't just push pills, as they put it, but that he is warmly human, interested in their problems, reassuringly confident that a man, with the help of God, can make his way back to a life of decency and purpose. Yes, a vivid emphasis on spiritual faith lies basic to the Hope Mission philosophy, believing that once a man realizes God is on his side, life's darkest circumstance begins to show its silver linings. The spiritual concern of local area churches provides encouraging, inspirational atmosphere for this basic philosophy through nightly services in the chapel. In addition to that, a daily Bible study helps the men establish spiritual foundations for their thinking.
Men, this verse we have on the board this morning is a very important verse. In fact, it is so important I wish you would memorize it during the coming week. We want to notice, according to this verse, that as many as received him. Imagine, God Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth, is inviting us, ordinary people, rebellious, sinful people, to receive him. And as many as receive him, to them gives he the power to become the sons of God.
Group therapy serves as part of the rehabilitation of an alcoholic, made aware of the needs of his life through sharing with others. Thus, he gains the needed understanding to become useful again in normal society. Much emphasis is also given to personal counseling, covering not only a man's spiritual needs, but assisting him in solving some of the complex day-to-day problems brought about by his misfortunes. A Citizens Advisory Council, made up of business and professional leaders in the community, together with the mayors of both South Bend and Mishawaka, aids Tobe in the many decisions he must make relative to the mission service to the area.
That's an encouraging report, Tobe. And it solidifies all the more my conviction that this community must somehow be more effectively informed of what this mission is doing. When people are informed of a fine work like this, they will offer their help. Donation of food, of clothing, equipment, and contributions to the financial needs. But the problem is that so few people really know what this mission is doing. There is great need for expansion of the mission's rehabilitation program to broaden the scope and the depth of all services. But the simple fact is that without financial help from the people of this community, this cannot be done.
You're doing a great work, Tobe. And that Citizens Advisory Council really impresses me.
I'm sure they will be glad to hear that. Now, do you have any questions?
I certainly concur with the men on your advisory council. The people of this community must be better informed of the work here. I think it would be helpful, for example, if we had something of an idea as to the basic procedure, the philosophy of your work among alcoholics.
Yes, in dealing with the alcoholics, we attempt to help this man to accept himself. He frequently comes to us and he has this feeling of insecurity which inhibits him from accepting himself. So we have learned that we must learn to love this person even though he does not love himself. We find that every man who enters our rehabilitation program, we must deal with him on his physical level. He comes to us and his body is run down. He has been living off of the sugar content of alcohol. He is suffering from malnutrition. And so we have to rebuild his body. So we deal with this man physically. And then secondly, we must help him also rehabilitate economically. Or there is still another way of saying the same thing. We must help this person, man or woman, to find a new sense of value. He must learn that he cannot spend the money or the clothing that are on his body for, let's say, the value or the price of a bottle. Then thirdly, we must help this person to find a spiritual awakening within himself. If we fail in this area, certainly we have failed. In essence, it would be saying that we tried to help this person find his dependence and needs met in God rather than where he had been finding help, a false and superficial help that he got from the bottle. Then fourth, we try to deal with this person in his thought and behavior patterns. These thoughts and behavior patterns have developed over a period of some maybe 5, 10, or even 20 years by the time a person comes to us. And so we try to help him to break up these patterns. These patterns are developed through the process of addiction. And in helping him to break these thought patterns up, to establish a new sense of well-being, then we have really come close to helping him. The wonderful thing about all this is, Jeff, that it really works. And I'd like to give you some living proof that it does work. let me present several men who have gone through the Rehabilitation Center. They will, in their own words, tell you what has happened to them.
When I came to the rescue mission, the Hope Rescue Mission, I was in great despair. I didn't know which way to turn. And I needed help very bad because I didn't think that I had a friend in the world. But through the help of the staff of the rescue mission, I found love, I found kindness, and I found the help that I needed. And I am very grateful for that to them, that this help has been given to me through the grace of God. You see, 8 years ago, I lost my wife and 2 children in a car accident. And at that time, I felt that there was nothing to live for. I felt that the world had come to the end. And I went off and I started drinking, and I felt like I wanted to drink myself to death. But now I know that through the help of the Hope Rescue Mission, the staff of this mission, that they've given me so much hope through the rehabilitation program and through the Bible studies that I'm doing. I'm learning to know God more and more every day. And I know God's with me.
My name is Joseph Morris. I come from St. Anne, Illinois. Before I came to the mission, I was a total alcoholic. My wife and family were about to reject me. I was referred to the mission by a minister in my community. At the mission, I learned to look into my inner self. I learned to lean more on God instead of other people. I'm back home with my family now. I have full-time employment. My wife, my 2 sons, and myself are enjoying immensely the fellowship of our church in our community.
When I arrived at the Hope Rescue Mission in South Bend, Indiana, it was July the 1st, 1963, and I had been drinking for many years, the last several years very heavily. I had been classed by those who knew me, by a physician, a psychiatrist, as a hopeless alcoholic. At the Rehabilitation Center here at the mission, I was made a free man, physically, mentally, and spiritually, free from the bonds that had enslaved me for many years, free from the fog in my mind which had caused me to lose my business, my home, my family, and a good many of my friends. Today I have a positive assurance that through God, anything can be done, no matter what your status or your circumstances. And I know today that when I get into trouble, I must immediately, without hesitation, go to the Lord in prayer, ask Him for direction, and abide by His will. And they tell me, as I realize that once you are an alcoholic, you are always one. And here at the center, they will help you not once, but several times, in order to assure you that you will be able to lead a life of peace and happiness instead of one such as I lived in misery for many, many years. Now that you have heard my brief statement, perhaps you would like to know just who I am. My name is Joe Brady. I have 3 children. I was a former mayor of the city of Mishawaka, Indiana.
There are many more stories like these, and we praise God for every one of them. They are really our reason for existence. And we're really grateful for men like you who express interest in our work. You see, Jeff, it's not only people in need who receive help at the mission. No small amount of the blessing comes to those of us who share in the opportunity of helping. Before you finalize your report, I hope you will find time to interview some of the leaders in our community who have been most helpful to us.
Love of God and compassion for fellow man are two characteristics of fundamental importance. Hope Rescue Mission exemplifies these characteristics. As mayor of South Bend, I can assert that our community is justly proud of the contributions this mission makes to the community. And for such contributions, they richly deserve the wholehearted support of every member of the community.
As chief of police of this city, I have been acquainted with the work of the Hope Mission for as many years as it's been in South Bend. It has been a source of help to the police department in that we have referred many persons to its door, both transient and local. And to my knowledge, they have never been turned down. I am also aware of the tremendous work that they are attempting in the area of rehabilitation. It's a good organization doing good works, sponsored and staffed by good people.
As judge of the South Bend City Court, one of the most perplexing problems that I've had to deal with is the problem of acute alcoholism. I have never felt that the law gives the judge the correct latitude in this type of problem. I am familiar with the work of the Hope Rescue Mission, and I feel that in the solution that they offer, we may be able to salvage many citizens and bring them back into useful endeavor in our community.
I have come to think of Hope Rescue Mission as the right arm of the church, for it operates on motivations that have come from the Christian gospel as transmitted by the church through the centuries of time. One of these motivations is Christian concern for those that have deep and real needs. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. Hope Mission is the living expression of that concern. As churches of St. Joseph County, we have come to regard Hope Mission as a real spiritual asset in the life of our communities.
Well, there's very little I can add to what's already been said. Hope Mission, of which this community can be justly proud, vividly demonstrates that the religious premise upon which this country was founded is still as vital today as it was 2 centuries ago. It is my opinion, my conviction, that I am at my best as an American citizen when I support the kind of public service made possible through the dedicated efforts of such men as Tobe Schmucker and those who work with him at Hope Rescue Mission.